Justified in questions. Justified in getting answers. Matt Palumbo and Booker Scott are justified. This is the PB&J podcast.
America and Donald Trump continue to win at the Supreme Court of the United States. And what about New York? Are the Socialists taking over there? It's hard to tell after last Tuesday. I'm Booker Scott. This is the PB&J podcast alongside Matt Palumbo. Matt, I hope you had a great week, and let's get this thing going tonight.
Same to you.
Well, where do we start? You want to start, I guess, Tuesday night and what happened in New York. I think that's probably the best place to start. It seems like the Democrat Party is imploding, and I don't know what that means for the midterms, if it really means anything. And do we make much out of three Democrat socialists winning in New York after Mamdani won the mayor race? What do we make out of all of it?
So the DSA-backed candidates and also
I think that's probably the best place to start. Really means anything. And do we make much out of three Democrat socialists winning?
The DSA-backed candidates and also Mamdani-backed candidates that won are part of very far-left politics. In fact, when Mamdani was elected to the state legislature, he ran unopposed. Even to get your name out there for some other purpose, they don't even bother to run. So these are districts where you'll find in the South, these are hardened, Marxist, socialists, people who are overeducated. They're facing very high housing costs. They are, as I said, they major in youth. In those situations, do tend to gravitate towards those types of policies. Now, that being said, it's basically now. So, is this proof that the socialists are taking over? I would say the seeds are being planted.
Yeah.
I mean, the Democratic Socialist backed candidates that are going to be in the House of Representatives, I think it's going to be 7 or so of them now are going to have seats. Now, out of 435 seats, that's not a large percentage, but it is almost double what it was from a week or two ago. So they are seeing rising influence there. Now, I am seeing some Democrats that are in the more establishment Democrat category, which it's a different flavor of crazy, say, well, these people are not Democrats. They're not really our party. They're using it the way a parasite would. They're latching onto our label. And I think that's actually unfair in that we're a two-party system. So, was the Tea Party abusing the Republican Party's brand to get into office?
Or MAGA. MAGA is another one, yeah.
And MAGA did the same thing. Trump has remade the GOP in his figure. I think Trump, when he entered the presidential race in 2015, his odds were 1% he was polling at. His net favorability among Republicans was like negative 20 points. He's now the most popular Republican president among Republicans in history. So you can change a party for the better. And listen, both the Republicans and the Democrats are kind of catch-all coalitions of the right and the left. If we were Europe, the GOP might be 4 different parties that unite under one banner where they have their own distinct identities, but all agree we're going to work as a bloc because we have to. In a two-party system, the whole coalition process is streamlined. So, listen, the Democratic Socialists, yes, they are Democrats. They run as Democrats. Democrats are voting them into office. So what else would they be?
I was surprised about Dan Goldman. I didn't think that, one, that he would get beat, and number two, I didn't think that he would get beat 65-35. It was a blowout, and that's really shocking to me and surprising. It's not a guy that I like, and by the way, the Department of Justice is investigating what happened to him at a coffee shop in New York now. I don't know if you saw that this week, but they are investigating the way he was treated because he is Jewish in a coffee shop in New York. But, everybody blows up on social media that socialism is here, and it's something that I speak about quite a bit, that we do have to watch it. And as you look at how things have changed in this country, we are getting closer and closer to that, and I think this is a warning shot for America.
I mean, so the Democrats that won, and my greater point was, like, when you get the level of groupthink you get in cities where 80 or 90% of people are one political persuasion, that's at this point in time probably the only kind of places they would get elected. The Chevrolet woman got just over 50% of the vote, meaning even almost half of Democrats there said, all right, maybe we're not that far left. They're far left. They hate Trump. They would probably hate you and I, but even they decided, all right, maybe the establishment guy will take over her. The other one, Claire Valdez, I believe, was the one who got closer to 60%. But again, this is, as I call it, the commie corridor is what their districts are part of. And even then, it was quote unquote only 60%.
Right.
Now it's blowout victory, but my overall point is, if they ran in West Virginia, the Democrats there would probably pick someone else.
I agree with that, but I still think we should pay attention to it, and Donald Trump thinks we should too. Let's listen to this video. Go ahead, Matt.
One last point would be, I was saying the socialists haven't taken over yet, but the key word is yet. In that, if you plot out, and The Economist has done research on this, Pew Research has done research on this, if you plot out the ideology of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party over the past 20 or so years, the Republican Party is pretty consistently, its voter base is pretty consistent on where they are on the political axis. It's got a little bit to the right under Trump, and certain issues have been emphasized more, like immigration, but overall, if you put a Reagan Republican and a Trump, back from the 80s, and a Trump supporter today into a room, there's going to be a lot of similarity, probably 95% in common.
Before we get to Trump, let me go to this, though.
Oh, I had one last point.
Okay, sorry.
I'm trying to get you off. My last point was going to be, if you plot the Democrats, they're consistent up until Trump, and they veer off like crazy. Relative to how far the right went to the right. So the party has changed massively in the past 10 years. It has become overwhelmingly more left-wing. I mean, the trans issue 20 years ago would have been mocked into oblivion by the average Democrat. Now it's mainstream. Sort of the anti-wealth views are definitely worse than they've ever been. And just their support for political violence, being anti-free speech, is way higher than it has ever been. Now, they were never great on those issues, but they are going further to the left. So yes, the socialist types, I don't think it would get elected today. In 10 or 20 years, I think it is possible, just to make that clear. And on that note, you're good for your clip. Sorry for
no, that's okay. Now you made me think of something else, because you go back to the baker in Colorado that was 30 years ago now, that would not bake a cake for a gay couple, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And every time something like that happens, we never really go back to where we were before. They keep pushing it and keep pushing it, and now we see that they are pushing socialism. And let's see what President Donald Trump had to say about that Friday afternoon.
These are not social Democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. They're godless communists. All communists are godless. They don't believe in God. This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence, in my opinion, 250 years ago. This is a major threat to our country. It isn't something that's easily solved, but with a little love and help, some hard work. Because it's ironic, we're celebrating a very important birthday, our most important birthday so far, 250 years. And instead of speaking about Christ, and instead of speaking about freedom and victories of all different kinds, we're speaking about yet another threat to the foundations of America. These ruthless communists will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. They always do. They're after Christianity more than any other religion. It seems to be more and more throughout the world, maybe because we're doing so well. I don't know.
And he had a few more comments after that, but I think Donald Trump is signaling the alarm that all of us should pay attention to. And Matt, is this something that can be used in the midterm after what happened in December? Can the Republicans create a fear in people to get them to actually go vote, because there has been such apathy of the Republicans ever since last November? Is this something that they could use to actually get people to go vote?
Well, God, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the RNC has over 100 million in cash on hand. The DNC is a few $1 million in debt, which I guess is a metaphor for their governance. But so the RNC does have a huge cash advantage. It's just a question of, is that enough money, on a national scale to offset the deficit the incumbent always had? And we've talked about this in your other shows in the past, that, Bill Clinton had very positive economic numbers and still got, it was a blowout against him when it came to the midterms. And basically, I don't think there was a single example to the contrary we could find where the incumbent gained seats. So, that is the unfortunate reality. Could this time be different? Perhaps. I mean, the one woman I mentioned, Chiavale, I know I'm mispronouncing it. She is certifiably insane. She makes AOC look normal by comparison, which it kind of says a lot. And that, well, I should say, she probably has identical views as AOC. AOC is at least smart enough not to say them all out loud, but she wants to abolish prisons. She tweets about how, I couldn't find a napkin to wipe my hands, so I wiped it on the American flag. Reparations. I mean, I guess that's kind of mainstream at this point, but they have made a lot of incredibly insane comments. And there are people too where, we think of socialism and communism as economic systems, but they all also have views about nationalism, about the social order, about the role of law and justice in society that are antithetical to Western civilization. Chevalier has made comments about wanting to abolish Western civilization. They just want policies of misery for everyone. The one of them, Claire Valdez, is now talking about eliminating TSA pre-check because she wants, she hates waiting in the TSA and hates seeing people go faster than her. Therefore, we have to get rid of it. It's like, what, it's not that expensive. It's like $50 or something to buy, I think. It might be 100 tops. It's not a lot of money. So you could also just buy it for yourself. But, it's just politics of envy, politics of misery. We're always hearing them talk about, if only rich people redistributed their assets. If only we repurposed this system that a corporation created. Think of all the good it could do. It's never, hey, you know what? We should make our own version and give it out for free. Or why don't we start our own company and we'll give all our employees shares in it because we're socialists and we want to share equally and we'll do it ourselves. No, it's always, let's wait for someone else to do it for us and then let's steal it. So that's the ideology that underpins any of them. And it's the kind of people who I don't think could manage a high school group project now want to manage an entire country.
Right. And let's keep them away from the country if we could. And like you said, it's 7 out of 435 in the House of Representatives.
It's hard to keep track. I know there was 4 or 5 at one point, but I think Richie Torres got kicked out of the DSA for not being anti-Israel. I think Summer Lee either left or was kicked out. So I think it was 5 or 6 at its peak. There was a few that got kicked out or defected. Corey Bush and Jamal Bowman, I think, were part of it and left. So it's like, I believe it'll be 6 or 7, but it's, harder to keep track of for that reason.
Yeah. Well, pay attention to it, but don't get worried about it. And let's move on from Tuesday night in New York City. And let's go to the Supreme Court because there were some big decisions that came down this week, and Donald Trump continues to win in the Supreme Court. Regardless of what we think about the activist judges across the country that have done everything that they have done over the last 18 months, and you know what that is. We have watched it. And by the way, Matt, you know that the activist judges only exist because the Democrats decided to nuke the filibuster back in 2013 when Harry Reid was the majority leader. And by nuking the filibuster, that means that it only takes 51. And over the last, since 2013, you've had Barack Obama and Joe Biden do the majority of the appointing of federal judges. And when you only need 51, you end up with activists. And that's what's happened. But in the Supreme Court is the backstop for where these wacko judges get away with doing things. That's where things stop. And luckily, the things that came out this week are going to make a huge difference at the border and for illegal immigration, going all the way back to the first day of Donald Trump's 47th presidency. He signed some executive orders, and they went straight to court, and they've been held up until now, and now there's some big decisions that came out.
Oh, I thought there was a clip going to be played soon.
Not yet. No, it's coming.
Sorry. Yeah, well, one of the trends is when Trump does anything, there is always some federal judge that blocks it. But the higher you go in the appeal process, the less success the activists have. And then once you get to the Supreme Court, it's, I think, 90+% in Donald Trump's favor. So,
yeah.
I know they're going to say, oh, that's because it's, he rigged the Supreme Court in his favor. But Amy Coney Barrett's not as reliable as you'd think. Gorsuch is not as reliable as you'd think. And there's been a number of cases where it's unanimous in Trump's favor, or, it's not always the usual suspects going against him. So, maybe it's just the case that activist judges are using any justification to get what they want. And it's always the same group of judges. It's like Boasberg, Sparkle, what a great name, or some judge that they're all often, or it seems more often than not even born in this country. They're always some foreign-born person who has no connection to this country, who is doing the bidding of the left for activist purposes, and are ruling on these cases the way you kind of expect someone from that background too. It's of course they want more foreign people in the country. They want the country to be more like them, which I guess is maybe a natural desire, but it should not be dictating our law.
Well, one of these that the Supreme Court, I guess, upheld was the temporary status. And that means that 1.1 million Haitians are here illegally. And a lot of people may remember the Haitians and the cats that they were allegedly eating in Ohio. And even Donald Trump reported that and repeated it. But yeah, those are Haitians. Yeah.
That was a Twitter account named Captive Dreamer is the one who tweeted that out. And, I think he was just trolling, but JD Vance follows him. So I'm assuming what happened was JD Vance saw that and showed Trump, and that's how they got into the debate.
Right, and it became the news.
Which, by the way, got quoted in the court ruling by, I think it was Kagan or Sotomayor, quoted the cats and the dogs in the ruling. Which was,
what this decision does is it allows Donald Trump administration to kick these people out. They cannot have a temporary status. And it's not just Haitians. It was also Syrians that had come here under those. And so they are gone under that. And then also, I think a very important decision was the asylum seekers. And that's really important because we have this stay in Mexico. They're over on the other side of the American border. And in the past, once you put your foot on American soil, then you can have a hearing. That's what you're allowed to do. But if you stay on the other side of the border, what they ruled is you don't get a hearing and you have no rights here. And I think that's pretty important.
Well, if you really are seeking asylum and it is genuine, there is a country not too far from Mexico called El Salvador. It is right now, their murder rate is less than half of ours. They actually have far less crime than we do. So if you're fleeing violence or whatever, there is a country in Latin America that you can flee to. At least in theory, I'm assuming Bukele probably isn't big on illegal immigration. But if you're not going to respect a nation's borders, there is a safer country that you could go to.
Yeah.
So there is that. And then with the temporary protected status, it seems that everyone forgot what the term temporary means. Even, the refugees who went to Europe from the Syrian war and all that, the deal was supposed to be, and I'm guessing the people pulling the strings knew it. They wanted it to be permanent, but the deal was supposed to be once the war is over, you go back, and the war is over. Granted, they got a former Islamist in charge, but they are stable. It's not a war anymore. So you do have a country to go back to. And with Haiti, it's bizarre that we're seeing this framing like, it's such a violent country they can't go back to it. We need to take more people from Haiti. Mm-hmm. Really? So suppose it's the most violent country in the world, if we imported everyone from that country, what do you think happens here? So, or the flip side of that is actually the Haitians have been great here. They're such great workers. They work hard. They want to support their families. Okay, so then wouldn't deporting them to Haiti improve Haiti for everyone else? So which, you got to pick one argument, and neither really work for them.
Yeah. Let's go to Kami Mamdani in New York, the mayor of New York, and he's going to protect the Haitians. And this is going to be interesting to watch. Here's this clip.
We saw today the Supreme Court make a decision that is putting so many people's lives in jeopardy. And I just came back from a rally with 1199 as I stood alongside a number of Haitian New Yorkers who are concerned about what this means for their status in our city. And frankly, this city, the one that we love, is one that has been built by so many from so many different parts of the world. And that includes our Haitian brothers and sisters, our Syrian brothers and sisters. And we stand here ready to be in solidarity with all of those who are concerned by today's decision, and beyond just language of solidarity, actions of solidarity. Now, what that means when it comes to our city is if you are worried about what this means for your status, if you're worried about what this means for your family, I would encourage you to call our Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs hotline, and you can do so at 1-800.
So what does it mean for Haitians? It means they're out of here. What is he doing? Is he, he's trying to break the law, isn't he?
Yeah, thank God we have Haitians to thank for building New York City. It's the first time I've heard that. So the Syrians have been here for 10 years. So listen, I don't want to deny that, people who are here working are obviously helping the country. I mean, I still think they're taking jobs and bidding wages, but at least they're not on welfare if they're here working. But listen, when we talk about America being a country built by immigrants, up until the last 60 or 70 years, 90 to 95% of them were from England, Ireland, Italy, and Germany. So, if we're going to have to give credit, maybe we should also give credit to the people that actually built the country, not the people who jumped in front of the parade and said, look, we're leading it. It's like, well, I guess you are now, but rewind a little bit and you're not. I also couldn't help but notice he had the non-trans pride flag behind him, which I call the Republican pride flag at this point. So,
and are you still having a good Pride Month?
I don't practice.
Well, it's almost over. Thank goodness. We're almost through it. Let's.
Okay, so last year it felt like there was no Pride Month, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
This month it made a bit of a comeback, but it's still nothing like it was 5 years ago.
No, nothing. Not even close. Let's go to Stephen Miller. He kind of echoes what you said a few minutes ago.
Do you expect the administration to deport anyone who loses TPS status as a result of this ruling?
Well, of course, if you no longer have status in this country, then you're supposed to be deported. And in particular, in the case of the Haitians, the Biden administration flew over vast numbers. It's hard to know the exact number, but probably more than 1 million illegal immigrants from Haiti. That's not counting the border crossings into the United States. So these are people who've only been here for a few months, who are receiving welfare, whose all their ties, all their social connections, all their family is back in their home country of Haiti. And of course, that's where they should go. Yes,
so, Matt, the Haitians and the Syrians are going to be gone. We have the asylum seekers that can stay on the other side of Mexico. Another good decision for Donald Trump and his administration. There's another one also, which I'm going to get to, but I want to go to Ron DeSantis, the governor in Florida, who has been doing a fantastic job. If you remember Alligator Alley, do you remember that?
Alligator Alcatraz?
Alcatraz, I'm sorry. Not Alligator Alley, by the way, is the road between... It's the road between Miami and Naples, Florida, is Alligator Alley, and that's where Alligator Alcatraz is. But anyway, it was a place to bring all the illegals into one place, and then they started processing them. He did a press conference on Thursday. Here's what he had to say about that, because Alligator Alcatraz is closing.
No.
Yes.
Oh. I believe.
But in terms of us managing this facility, to the minute that's no longer needed, then we obviously would break down to the facility. And so Alligator Alcatraz fulfilled the role that it was designed to serve. Today, it now has 0 detainees. It has helped remove many, many dangerous people from the street and get them out of not only the state of Florida, but the United States of America. The detainees that were here are still in federal custody. The demobilization efforts here at this facility are underway. We stood this up. We surged critical resources. We built critical infrastructure. We were able to manage very complex operations, and we were able to efficiently execute the mission when called upon.
Governor Ron DeSantis did a great job with that, and he also did a great job with some George Soros things. I'm going to get to that here in a few minutes, but before we do, there was one other ruling from SCOTUS last week, and it had to do with immigration officers and their ability to check people with green cards. And I don't know, did you catch that? It came out on Tuesday. It was a 6-3 decision. Clarence Thomas, he held that federal immigration law does not require border officers to have clear and convincing evidence that green card holders have committed a disqualifying crime before preventing them from re-entering the country. So that was something that came out Tuesday. I don't know that many people paid attention to that one.
6-3 in favor of that ruling?
Yes, it was 6-3. Yes, conservatives.
All right, very good. And with Alligator Alcatraz, I wish he did quote some numbers on how many people they were able to process and deport and all of that. I mean, if it really is no longer needed, at least in that location, I would hope that means there's no more illegals there. But, I don't know what percentage of Florida's population is here illegally. And where I am in Jersey, it's probably upwards of 10%. I would imagine it's, I guess, less there, but given its proximity to the border, but I guess with New Jersey, it's not exactly near the border either. So hard to know. But hopefully it's mission accomplished there.
Yeah, no, there were 24,000 they processed through. He did mention that. I didn't play that, but he did mention that in the press conference. So 24,000 is the number.
It's 25,000 just in that area means they're all gone.
Yeah, but, Alcatraz, they have been processed and they're wherever they're going to go, which is to a hearing, or maybe they've taken them out of the country. The process was to bring them there, have them be adjudicated, have their hearing, and then make a determination on what to do. It was an old airfield down there in the Everglades, and that's what they did. They transformed it into a place to hold the illegal immigrants, and now it is closed. Let's move from there. But before we do, let me thank everybody for watching on WD American's Facebook Live feed. Thank you for watching us. And if you're watching us on talkred.com, thank you for doing that, whether it's on a Getter feed or anywhere else. We really do appreciate it. You are watching the PB&J podcast with Booker Scott and Matt Palumbo. Let's talk about the Obama Library. That's something we have not talked about on the radio show or here. So take it away.
It's a disgusting eyesore. There's something about the left in architecture where they just want everything to be ugly. Like, you can immediately tell a building is from the former Soviet Union and one of its constituent countries, because it just looks like a demoralizing eyesore that makes you want to die and, I guess, turn to alcoholism, which did happen there. So maybe it's mission accomplished for that. But no, the left just loves sort of general ugliness. And we saw with the whole construction process too, they were trying to outsource it to only black firms, and then the black firms were claiming that Obama was engaging in racism against them. And it's the whole, I know I've used, this is the second time I'm making this kind of comment on the show, but it is a metaphor itself for the left, in that everything they do is ugliness. Whenever they try to placate their own side, it just backfires against them. When you are dealing with people who view everything as a racial grievance, if you try to accommodate them, even your accommodations will be viewed as such. Now, one part of this story that has been sort of buried in the media is when they had an opening, when they opened it, they had a VIP list of people who were invited to go. Among those invited and present was Bill Ayers and his wife, Bernadine Dorn, of the Weather Underground. Now, many people may recall during his campaign in 2008, his relationship with Ayers did come up quite a bit as a controversial issue. He tried to deny, having any meaningful connection to Ayers, but yeah, turns out that two former terrorists, did get a VIP invite to his library. If there were no people in the building, this is one building I would encourage the Weather Underground to bomb for the good of all humanity. But just joking for obvious reasons. But for everyone's eyes, I think it would be a plus.
Well, they spent $850 million on that library. It costs $30 to get in. And have you paid any attention to all of the black contractors that are upset because they have been stiffed? They are owed millions of dollars. Keep an eye on that. That's going to be interesting as we go through that.
I didn't realize they had actual grievances. So.
Yes, no, they're not getting paid. That's a grievance for sure. It's a grievance for me anyway. John Bolton, he was finally, he pled guilty on Friday. Let's go to this clip.
This morning, just moments ago, John Robert Bolton II pled guilty in federal court to the unlawful retention of national defense information. According to the terms of the plea agreement, Mr. Bolton faces a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison, followed by a term of up to 3 years of supervised release. He will also pay a fine of $2.25 million and will forfeit his pension under the HIS Act.
Thank goodness he's going to lose his pension. The last time you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, it was a $2 million fine. Both of us sort of agreed that he's probably not going to go to prison, although he could get 5 years. I doubt that he will. I still doubt that he's ever going to go to prison, but $2.25 million, that's a pretty good fine.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be way more money than he made from his book. And that, I mean, if he's getting a 10 or even a 20% royalty, that's what, a 10 to 20 plus million in sales you would have to do to make that back.
Yeah, would he do that much, you think? Are people interested in what he has to say?
Well, that's my point, is there's no way it's anywhere near that, amount of sales. So, yeah, I mean, you'd have to sell probably 1 million copies to make that kind of money. So,
Well, you sell books. Books don't sell themselves. I don't know. I have one I sell, and it's not easy. So
it's not a great way to make money, to be honest. But it's a way to, I know it's a good resume item and nothing else. But no, so he's going to get wiped out there. I mean, I don't know what his net worth is. I mean, he's not really, it's not like government is really known for paying that well, but it's all the other side deals and corruption and all that do pay very well. I mean, you're in you're privy to inside information you can trade on. So I don't know what the guy's worth. I don't know if he's ever done any financial disclosures, but $2 million or $2.25 million is quite a bit. Yeah. I don't know if they tacked on that extra amount in the past week or so, because as you said, it previously was quoted at $2 million. So it would be funny if just last minute they added on some extra amounts. When it comes to the sentencing, and I would say I don't think this should play a role, but it probably, for certain judges, will play a role in that a 5-year sentence could be a de facto life sentence, just given his old age. Maybe that'll, weigh a little bit. And also maybe the fact that he agreed to that fine will also weigh a little bit in that, well, hey, you're already paying so much. Is there really a point in adding on the jail time? I mean, now, obviously, if I was the judge, I would say yes, but I am assuming he might get a left-leaning federal judge that thinks this way.
And John Bolton is 77 years old, to your point. He's getting up there toward the end of his life. And again, both of us agree he's probably not going to go in prison. We could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe he gets 6 months or something like that. Matt, I want to stop for just a few minutes here and talk about George Soros. You wrote a couple of books on it. And the people that are viewing this show may not know that. It's a new show. They don't really know either one of us, the people watching this. They don't know us very well, probably. But in the case of your books about the Soros family, you had The Man Behind the Curtain about George Soros. And your latest book is The Heir about Alex Soros. And again, let's go to Governor Ron DeSantis. I mentioned what a good job he's really doing in Florida. I don't think his political career is over. I have heard he has aspirations of possibly the Supreme Court. Maybe he would be a good one day if he is ever able to be appointed. But he's done a good job in Florida, and listen to how he tackled a couple of Soros prosecutors. Here is Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida.
We've beat the left and we beat people like George Soros on crime. You have in this country these prosecutors that are funded by Soros and other organs of the left, and they get in and they have an agenda to simply not prosecute criminals. We see it in Philadelphia with this guy Krasner. Has been a total disaster and has harmed a lot of people because of the dereliction of duty. Well, we have had 2 Soros prosecutors in Florida, one in Tampa and one in Orlando, and I removed both of them from their posts. And I'm the only governor in the country to do that.
So, Matt, that is the way you take care of George and Alex Soros. But a little bit, tell people how George Soros has gone about this, because years ago, decades ago, he decided that, $20 million will go a lot further with district of attorneys in places like St. Louis and Minneapolis and Manhattan than it ever would in a presidential race. And that's really where he kind of started to poison America and the judicial system, and he really did a really effective job. And now he's passing it over to Alex Soros, The Heir, which is your latest book. So talk about the Soroses a little bit.
Yeah, I guess George Soros was a bit late to the game in learning the old adage that all politics is local. But not only is it local, it's way more easy to influence. In that a lot, listen, most people, if they're ever going to vote, it's in a national election and we get 30 or 40% turnout in those. If it's a district attorney election, like I will admit, as someone who's dialed into this, I can't think of the last time locally I've ever seen an advertisement for a DA election or when to turn out or anything. So it's it's something you have to kind of know to look for. And these are races where maybe 10% or fewer people turn out. And when that's the election, you can push extremely unpopular candidates. And that if you're a candidate that represents, I don't know, views that are 10% of the population, but the other 90% that's against it, only 5% of them turn out, well, then the unpopular guy is going to win if you can mobilize that core batch of crazy people. Mm-hmm. And George Soros, when he goes local, he will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars in elections where the other guy is getting maybe 10% of that. And it basically guarantees a victory, and not quite guarantees, but it's a 90+% success rate. So that's how he's been doing it. And they're all, once one Soros DA, you kind of know them all. It's just, what crazy cases have they made them a national name. But it's a lot of people that are against the death penalty, that are sort of for infinite second chances for criminals. They're against any sort of drug regulation whatsoever. They're against what they call crimes of necessity. So if you're a shoplifter, well, we can rebrand you that as a crime of necessity because surely you were one meal away from starving and that was your only option. Or things like graffiti, well, they don't count that as a crime. It's who's the victim there, so we won't enforce that. And they're all hypocrites. Like there was one, I think it was Deanna Becton, who decided, we're not going to prosecute people for vandalism, including graffiti, anymore. And within a few weeks of her making that decision, there was a couple that vandalized the Black Lives Matter mural with graffiti. And guess what? That she was able to make an exception for that. So, it's not just are the laws weak or strong? It's what laws get enforced. And there is a friend-enemy distinction in politics, in that if the criminal is someone they sympathize with, they're going to get away with it. If the criminal is someone they do not sympathize with, the law all of a sudden is going to come down 1,000 pounds on their head and smack them across the face. So it's not just they won't enforce the law. It's a question of who are they not enforcing the law against and who are they enforcing it for? And we see this a lot with the Soros DA type people. I mean, Chase Boudin in San Francisco, who got ousted, was a big one who just decided, shoplifting, go ahead, not a crime anymore. And there was videos every day of people filling up a garbage bag at Walgreens or CVS or whatever they have there and walking out. And there were security guards who do absolutely nothing. There was this paradox in San Francisco where the theft rate, it actually looked like it was going down, but it was because no one was reporting thefts because the cops couldn't do anything. So there was a month when Chase Boudin was still in office where there was a single target location, one store in San Francisco, and they decided, you know what? We're going to report every single shoplifting incident to the police just for this 1 month.
Yeah.
Now they stopped because nothing actually ended up getting done. But for 1 month, they reported every shoplifting incident to the San Francisco police. The shoplifting rate for the entire city doubled that month from one store reporting all their thefts. Now, there are tens of thousands of businesses in San Francisco. One of them was enough to double the crime rate. So it just goes to show just how masked the extent really was in the official statistics. But when it comes to crimes that actually pretty much always get reported, such as, violent assault or murder, we saw the George Floyd, there was a George Floyd effect was especially pronounced in the cities that had Soros DAs. Most of them saw violent crime rates and homicides double. And those, as I said, are very reliably reported. So it's been a complete disaster. I mean, the left, it's so bad that the highs of 2020 and 2021 have come down quite a bit, and in blue cities too. But the crime rate went from here to here, and now it's fallen to here, and the left's going, wow, look at how much crime is falling. Thank God for us. And it's like, well, it's still higher than it was 5 years ago. You can really take credit for that. But that's the Soros agenda on crime. And Alex Soros, he actually took over funding these candidates in 2022. A lot of people don't know that. So a lot of the candidates that are getting named as George Soros DAs are Alex Soros DAs. These are people like Mary Mariah Tree up in Minneapolis, I believe. She was the one where a Tim Walz employee was vandalizing Teslas and did like $25,000 worth of damage, and she let him plea out of that crime and claimed, well, it's just vandalism, blah blah blah. And then the same week she let that guy plead out, she criminally charged a woman for keying a car at a Waffle House and did like $1,000 worth of damage. So it goes back to my point of, it just depends on, like, does the DA view the criminal as an ally? And if yes, no consequences. Yeah. If you're a normal person, there might actually be consequences for you. But if you're from what they think is a victim class, no laws apply to you.
Matt Palumbo is the author of the Soros's books, and you can find them on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. I guess either one of those places. You can just search his name, or you can also look for Man Behind the Curtain or The Air are the names of those books. Both of them are great books, so I encourage you to, if you want to know more about the Soros family. Matt, we have to have a boogeyman, don't we? And George Soros was that, and I guess as you've named the book, The Air, Alex Soros will continue to be our boogeyman for who knows, for however long. And by the way, I guess he's still engaged to be married to Anthony Weiner's ex-wife. They're already married. Okay.
Yeah, they had a star-studded wedding in the Hamptons last year.
Okay, well, she gets passed around, doesn't she?
Not invited.
Citizen Vigilante movie. What about this? Army Hammer. Do you remember that guy from 2021? He had all those sexual problems and escapades out in Hollywood, and was the end of his career. Well, this is his first feature film since 2021 when all of that happened. Talk about this, because it's taken over X, it's taken over Twitter, social media. It's free for 48 hours. Citizen Vigilante is the name of it.
So I watched it last night. Or the night before. I paid $7 on YouTube, like right before it became free. So that's
good timing. Yeah.
Not like it's breaking the bank or anything, but would have funded the movie candy. But I liked it. It's not high culture, it's not high art. It is a movie you unplug your brain and watch. If you like, the sort of like John Wick or Expendable movies, it's just that, but with migrants and rapists instead of random characters. But no, I thought it was good, and it's one of those things where even if you don't like the movie, the fact that it could be made says something. And the fact that a mainstream actor, granted they tried to cancel him, the fact that he would agree to it, I think says a lot. I don't know. I was more impressed that the movie was made, and when 99% of movies with a message are in the other direction, it just does feel refreshing to see one kind of go your way. Well, so I recommend it.
Let's watch this video from it. I have some video from it. So here is the beginning of that movie, just to give you an idea.
The nation is gripped by fear as a wave of shock sweeps the country. A mother was murdered in broad daylight in front of her child by another suspected undocumented migrant. Parents were afraid to let their children play outside, and many women avoid venturing out after dark altogether.
So, Matt, what I'm getting from this is it's illegal immigrants or migrants that have come in, and then there is a citizen who takes it upon himself. And I guess, do we want to tell the ending of it? I know how it ends because I've read critics and what they've said about it, because they say it's a terrible movie. You say it's a good movie. The mainstream media critics say it's awful. But the interesting part, Matt, though, before we go much further, Elon Musk posted this video out. That was all he posted, which is really interesting that his voice on X was used to promote this free video for 48 hours.
Yeah. Well, so he posted the full movie as well, which I think is what you're referencing.
Yeah.
My wife says he paid, I think, $10 million to the filmmaker, like for the
for the rights to do that. Okay,
so that's cool. I mean, the filmmaker teased a second movie, and he made an AI poster, and it was the the poor Ukrainian girl who got murdered on the train was in the movie poster. So I don't know if he's going to use that as a model for the next one. Maybe it's an American version, but I guess to half spoil the ending, the good guys win. Obviously, I'm not going to go into much detail, but and it's not just migrants that are the bad guy in the movie. He's a kind of catch-all vigilante who's against any sort of social disorder, whether it be people stealing or not paying their bus fare and all that. And it's there's not even really a central plot. It's just him kind of going around enforcing the law. He also targets some of these judges that are letting rapists and murderers off easily. So it was just, I don't know, sort of nice to see a mindless action movie where the people who are the victims actually kind of deserve it for once. So I don't know, I liked it. I recommend it. I would say people might be viewing this before a little too late when it's no longer free, but I think it was $7 on YouTube, as I said, for the high definition version. I thought it was worth it.
Well, I've got one more clip, and here is Armie Hammer.
I can't sit here and watch you exist in a state of sleep paralysis anymore. The truth is this. You are all being used. You are all nothing but playthings. Every soldier who's gone off to war thinking that their death was for an idea or that their sacrifice was important for society has been played.
Is that the way it was the entire time? It's an hour and a half. Was that pretty much it?
Well, it's a lot more action than that. That's just how they sort of play that before and after he goes off on people with extreme violence. But it's
well, maybe he'll get a career back on track after
probably
this.
Not from this movie.
Not from this one.
Too, what his politics are, because he, in I think 2018, starred in a very cringeworthy Broadway play called I think it was called Straight White Men, or it's something white men, where it's self-flagellating cringe fest. So I don't know did he just take this movie because he can't find anything else?
I think so.
Aligned with this after being canceled and now hates the left. I don't know, but I do hope they do the sequel.
Yeah, I think he took it because he needed it. Really, yeah. I do. From where he came from in 2021 to now. So anyway, check that movie out.
And we should point out, too, I know that the local DA, did investigate the claims against him and could not find any evidence charges. So, listen, it seems like all of these men in Hollywood are sex pests to a different degree, but it seems like there was not evidence he did anything criminally wrong, I guess. I mean, I'm not trying to defend the guy just because I like one movie he acted in, but that's just for some background.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you straightened that out for us. Because I wouldn't want to make people think from the things that I said that he did something illegal, because that's not the case. But if you remember all of that back in 2021, if you don't, go back and Google it and remember it, or at least learn about it. What about Caitlin Clark? I know you are no sports fan. We talk about this quite a bit, sort of as a joke, you and I do, because we know each other well enough to know that you know absolutely nothing about sports, and we make a joke about it. However, Caitlin Clark is something I want to bring up because this kind of gets into culture and society. Are you keeping up with any of this? Because social media is blowing up with what happened to Caitlin Clark. Are you paying attention to this?
So not by choice, but yes.
Yeah.
Anytime anything happens with her in a game, it does make right-wing news. And it's a very obvious case of a woman being targeted either out of resentment due to her talent or because of her skin color. She has tried to pander to Black Lives Matter in the past, and accepting awards for her skills in basketball, doing the whole well, black women paved the road for me, blah blah blah. I don't know if she actually believes that, or was just, told by her, whoever does her PR, to say that, or if she thought it would reduce the amount of violence against her for whatever. It's not working if that was the goal. But no, I saw a video recently where it looked like she was basically punched in the neck while she was on the ground. And I think the woman who punched her got a 1-game penalty.
1-game suspension. That was it. 1 game. Yeah.
You look at what WNBA athletes make, it's only going to cost her like $45. So it's basically nothing.
Well, let's go through some facts here. I did some research on this. I was just curious, when the tide rises, all boats will tend to raise up with them. And that's what's happened. 2022, average WNBA attendance was 5,500. Average salary was $110,000. Caitlin Clark was drafted 2024. 2026, the average attendance this year, 11,000 people. The average salary, $550,000. 5 times the salary since Caitlin Clark came in. And they're doing this. Watch this. Here's this video you talk about. I think this is in slow motion too. So watch this punch to the neck.
The eye contact, it wasn't you pushed them and then, oh my God, sorry. It was clearly deliberate. I was only smiling as the video played, was I was going to say, it wasn't in reaction to the video. I was going to say, when I said the 1-day suspension will cost the woman $45, I didn't realize the salaries had gone up that much.
Yeah, 5 times.
I thought they were making like $50K a year, in which case it was a tongue-in-cheek.
Well, they did not too long ago. They were making 40 or 50,000. A lot of them had to have different jobs in the off season, kind of like the golfers. The PGA golfers used to have other jobs during the off season. Same thing for WNBA. Nobody went to the games. I would rather watch paint dry on a wall than watch their games. My daughter happens to love Caitlin Clark and inspires her. And now she's seeing Caitlin Clark and, getting punched in the throat and being fouled very hard all the time. And unfortunately, I think maybe WNBA eventually, when Caitlin Clark goes away, will become nothing more than a Spirit airline of basketball. I think, does that make any sense to you?
What's going to happen is it's going to collapse without her, and the narrative will shift to like, oh, it's because of racism. They don't want to see the sport where the most talented white person left. It's going to be some brain-rotting narrative we're going to have to hear from the liberal media on why it collapses after her.
There is a pastor in Louisiana. His name is Tony Snell, and he was doing some work on the church bus at the church. And a neighbor came over and started yelling at him and told him, when you leave, I'm going to rape and kill your wife and grandchildren. And this is what the pastor did. Now, Matt, this video goes on and on. He ended up getting this guy on the ground, had him on his stomach, and was wailing away at his head. He was arrested, obviously, for assault. What do you think about that?
Well, I read one of the headlines said that he said God told him to do it, and I believe him.
Really? I don't know if I didn't see that headline. Did you see that really? Or are you just
No, I'm not joking. When you mentioned it before the show, I just did a quick Google just so I had a talking point.
Yeah, well, good.
Also, I don't get, as an aside, when people honk when they see a fight, like, do they think that the people fighting are going to be like, oh, all right, it's off? What do you do with such a conflict?
I don't know. Why not stop the car? Why not stop the car and go break them up? It just honk on the way by. Let's real quick before we get to the end of this hour, let's get serious about Iran real quick. We had, the cargo ship that was bombed with a drone by Iran last week. And then Friday, Donald Trump and the Trump administration decided to respond and retaliate for that. But you had Marco Rubio that is quietly working on peace between Hamas and Israel in Lebanon. Let's go to this video.
God bless Israel. May God bless Lebanon. May God bless the United States of America and all those who pursue peace. Thank you.
And Matt, they signed that agreement. So I guess we're moving forward. This is another one of those things that needed to be accomplished in that 60 days as that 60-day clock is continuing to tick. And we see Iran and America still going at each other, which is, I guess, disheartening. The Trump administration, they touted, I think Donald Trump said the most ever ships came through the Strait of Hormuz, and it was 70, which was up quite a bit. That's not a record. That's not the most ever. On a regular day before all this started, it was about 100 ships, but we had oil down below $70. So who knows? Maybe things are progressing in that 60-day time period.
I mean, let's hope so. I mean, we had the ceasefire with Iran, which has already been violated by them. We had a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, and I think there's been 1,000 or so deaths since the ceasefire took effect. So let's hope it sticks. But the precedent so far has been that it's not really sticking. It's just an improvement over what the status was before it. But I think everyone is hoping for peace at this point. I think we now have the benefit of hindsight, and it does seem that Israel convinced Trump that this was going to be another one of his sort of one-off strikes that in the past has always been a success. This time we got drawn in. Now, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking a war, but I think we probably should have not have gotten involved in this one really at all. I'm not sure what exactly we ended up gaining by the end of it.
I think we look for the Supreme Court coming with birthright citizenship, the first of this coming week, and because it's the end of their calendar. June 30th will be the end. I think they're going to go one more day beyond that. So look for that coming. Anything else on your radar this week?
No, that's the big one. And it's this weird case where the consensus seems to be they're going to go with precedent and uphold it. But I think the precedent is wrong. And I thought the Supreme Court's job is to figure out if it's right or wrong. So we'll see. The betting markets are against us. The consensus is against us. But I'm holding out hope because it's a birthright citizenship is just a recipe for disaster. You could come here for one day, have a kid, and you are automatically entitled to what could amount to be hundreds of thousands of dollars of benefits over your lifetime. And it's not even, enforced in that if, a kid here is born and then let's say they go home. It's like this happens more with like Russians or wealthy foreigners will come here, have a kid, and then bring their kid back home and keep the citizenship in the U.S. As opposed to from Latin America, where it's then to live here as a citizen. But if I were to move to Europe, the United States still taxes me. I still have to file a tax return, even if I'm making income from a European country. So you get double taxed. We're the only country that does that. When we have anchor babies be born here and then grow up in their home countries, do we apply that to them? And the answer is no. So it's like, so they want the benefits of this country. They get them for free. If they move back to their home country and work there, we don't double tax them for some reason. But if I want to move to a different country, I have to pay tax to both countries. So it's just the levels of unfairness everywhere are crazy. And I don't like it. I don't think anyone watching this likes it.
No, I don't either. And we're to the end of our hour, Matt. It goes by fast every week, whether we're here on the radio or on YouTube and Rumble or Talk Red or WD Americans Facebook Live. And thank you for watching. Wherever you are watching, we appreciate it. This hour always goes by so fast with you. And, we are the sandwich of sanity in a political, chaotic world. And we're the PB&J podcast. Thank you so much for watching.
You have been watching a no-budget production, the PB&J